Hello everyone, welcome to free crash course on competitive exams conducted by VIRAT Hindustan Sangham in association with Manifest IAS. This program is inspired by Dr. SUBRAMANIAN SWAMY, MP, Rajya Sabha, and it was started on 28th of January. So this program is convened by Sri Ravishankar sir, State Education Convener, VHS Karnataka, and also President of Good Neighbors India Association, NGO. So I am the chief mentor of your program. I have been mentoring for civil service aspirants for past 5 years. So this is your YouTube channel. You can watch this program at the comfort of your home on the YouTube channel of VIRAT Hindustan Sangham as well as the YouTube channel of UDAYA News Karnataka. Okay. So here is the timetable along with the syllabus. We are done with polity. Now we are doing history. Today is history's second class. So you can join our Telegram channel VHS Education Forum by clicking this link or by scanning this QR code. So you can ask your doubts, and it will for this channel is available for free mentorship. Okay, what to expect out of these classes? For veterans and freshers, senior aspirants can use this course as a revision course, and freshers can use this to get hold of the concepts which they are supposed to study in their effort towards competitive exams. Okay, so this is the broad timetable for the 10 days for which I have planned for Modern India. So this is your source, Modern India by Spectrum Publications. This you have to buy, everyone, each one of you. And this is the 10-day program. Today we are going to discuss consolidation of British and resistance before 1857. Okay. So let us begin the class. So yesterday I ended here. So cause of decline of Mughal Empire. So today we will start with rise of regional states. What do you mean by regional states? Regional states means those states which were not having a all India power. So regional, that is South India, one regional power was there, that is Hyderabad kingdom, Hyderabad Subadarship was there, and Bengal there was different kingdom, and also even in Awadh there was different rule. So these regional states which were different from the Mughal Empire, though they were under the broad control of the Mughal Empire, so they were largely independent. So survey of the regional kingdoms. So there are three types of regional states. So the first state is successor states. Successor states means, so initially Mughal Empire will be there. Out of this empire, what are the states that are going to emerge out of the Mughal Empire? So as an offspring, like a children. Okay. So those states are called successor states. What are the states? Awadh, Bengal and Hyderabad. These are the successor states. So there were also independent kingdoms which were not dependent on Mughal Empire. What were the independent kingdoms? We have Mysore as well as Rajput states. Largely Hindu states were independent kingdoms. They were not dependent on Mughal Empire. And also there were new states. So new states emerged. What were the new regional states? So it was Maratha, Sikhs and Jats. These were the new states. Survey of regional kingdom. So regional kingdom successor state. First successor state is Hyderabad. It emerged out of Mughals. Hyderabad. So Hyderabad was founded by Asaf Jah Nizamul Mulk. So it was founded by Asaf Jah Nizamul Mulk. Okay. So why did he find it? Actually, he was under in the kingdom of, or in the court of the Mughal Empire. So he will be some minister. So he gets disgusted. He gets saddened by the policies of the Mughal Empire. So what does he do? He finds a new kingdom in the south. So that state is called Hyderabad state. So being disgusted with the Mughal Empire, he finds it. So when was the Hyderabad state founded. It was founded in 1725. Next, Awadh state. Awadh, where is Awadh? It is largely in the Uttar Pradesh region, present day Uttar Pradesh region. Who is the founder of this successor state? It is Sadat Khan Burhan ul Mulk. Sadat Khan Burhan ul Mulk is the founder of this state. Okay, so he gets, so actually during the tenure of Bahadur Shah, after Aurangzeb, Bahadur Shah, Farooq Shah and Muhammad Shah, important rulers, there will be many nobles or ministers. For example, Zulfikar Khan will be there. He will be one minister. And also Saeed brothers will be there. Saeed brothers, they act as king makers. So, they will be under the rulership of these three people. During their tenure, Zulfikar Khan and Saeed brothers will be there. They will be acting as king makers. Okay. So, he joins a conspiracy with Saeed brothers. Who? This Burhanul Mulk, Sadat Khan. He joins a treachery. He joins a conspiracy plan against the Mughal emperor and gets Awadh from them. So, he gets large land to rule for himself. So, that is how he gets the land. Next, we have the state of Bengal. So, Bengal was founded by Murshid Quli Khan. So, he made the Bengal a independent state, independent of Mughal Empire. So, after this, his son and grandson succeeds. However, none of them are good rulers. So, the ruler, one grandson of Murshid Quli Khan was killed by Alivardi Khan. Alivardi Khan kills grandson of Murshid Quli Khan and becomes a independent ruler in Bengal. Okay, next we have Rajputs. So we have Rajputs, right? So Rajputs. So there was conflict between Bahadur Shah as well as your Rajput kings Ajit Singh and Jai Singh. So they were actually not successor states, rather independent states. Even Mysore is a independent state. It did not emerge out of Mughal Empire. It is a independent state. So Mysore was ruled by Odayars. However, later on it was taken over by Hyder Ali. It was taken over by Hyder Ali and his son Tipu Sultan. So these two are independent states. Also we have the independent state of Kerala ruled by Martanda Varman. So independent of state of Kerala ruled by Martanda Varma. So along with that we have new states. So I told new states. So new states emerges in the 18th century Jats. So the Jats are present even today. So these are agricultural people. Jats are agricultural people around Delhi, Mathura and Agra. So they were disgusted with Aurangzeb's policy. So Aurangzeb's religious policy, what he used to do Aurangzeb? He used to promote Islam and curb Hinduism or punish Hinduism. So these Jats gets disturbed by that and they form a new state. Who are the important people under Jats? It is Churaman Jat and Badan Singh. So they form a independent state or new state at Bharatpur. So Bharatpur, they form a new state. Okay. So all your Chambal region. So Chambal region and also Agra, everything comes under the control of this Jat rulers. Okay. So Surajmal. So one of the important ruler under Jats is Surajmal. So then comes Sikhs. So they are also new state. New state, not emerged out of Mughals, but a new state. So here what happens? Aurangzeb actually kills 9 Sikh Gurus. So there are actually 10 Sikh Gurus. So first is Guru Nanak, last is Guru Gobind Singh. So 10th Guru is Guru Gobind Singh, first Guru is Guru Nanak. So what happens? 9th Sikh Guru, Guru Tej Bahadur, he was killed by Aurangzeb. So 9th Sikh Guru was killed by Aurangzeb. So after what happens? The Sikhs organize themselves. The entire Sikh community gets divided into 12 categories. These 12 categories are called 12 missals. So 12 missals. So after Guru Gobind Singh, that is the last Guru, so they get divided into 12 missals or confidentiaries. Okay. So this your Ranjit Singh, ruler of Punjab. So he also comes from one of these missals. So his missal is called Suker Chakia missal. So Ranjit Singh also comes out of this missals. So his missal is called, confederacy is called Suker Chakia Confederacy or the Suker Chakia missal. So important. So this Ranjit Singh, what does he do? He rules from Jhelum to Satluj. Jhelum to Satluj, entire region is ruled by who? Your Ranjit Singh. So he signs Treaty of Amritsar with British. He also signs Treaty of Amritsar with British. And also he gets involved in the Tripartite Treaty, 1838. Tripartite Treaty with whom? So Tripartite Treaty I will discuss later. So it is between British, Ranjit Singh and Sindh Amirs. Sindh Amirs. Against whom? Against Afghans. Against Afghans. Okay, so this was signed in 1838. Tripartite Treaty. Tripartite means three parties are involved. What are the three parties? One is your Ranjit Singh, Sindh Amirs, and also your who? So your British. So last is the Marathas. Marathas are also new state. So Marathas, so they get defeated under Battle of Panipat. Battle of Panipat 1761 by Ahmad Shah Abdali. However, they recoup and come back. So one more new state of Rohilkhand. So Rohilkhand is ruled by whom? So it is actually in the foothills. So foothills means what? If this is a hill, so this is Himalayas, the plain region near the foot of the mountain. So this Rohilkhand people located in the foothills of Himalayas. So they were majorly Bangash Pathans. Their community is from Bangash Pathans. These Pathans are from actually Afghan Pakistan region today. Okay. So they also set up a independent kingdom. So Rohilkhand, they set up a independent kingdom. So these are the new states. So nature and limitations of regional state. What are the limitations? So limitations. So even though they were separate from Mughal territory or Mughal Empire, many of them tried to maintain their relationship with Mughal Empire. They tried to maintain their ties with Mughal Empire. And also they were regional in character. So Maratha was confined to Maharashtra and surrounding region. They were not pan-India. So initially they were confined to Maratha region, Maharashtra region. Later they gets expanded. So all majority of these kingdoms are, or the states are regional in character. They were not pan-India. So that is also a limitation. So these regional states were supported by local zamindars, merchants. Sometimes these zamindars and merchants, they themselves were rulers. So this is also a limitation. So they lacked in administrative and military organization. So they didn't have good administrative policy, that is ruling, executive policy. So and also military policy, their military was weak. So these are some of the limitations of the regional states. Also you can add Jagirdari crisis. Jagirdari crisis I discussed yesterday. Socio-economic conditions. Socio-economic conditions. India before the British, what was the socio-economic condition? Socio, samajika, economic, arthika paristiti. Okay. So agriculture. What was the socio-economic condition of agriculture? So there were two kinds of people. One who were extremely poor, and there were nobles. Nobles who were extremely rich. So two kinds of borders. One are poor, one are extremely rich. So what was the condition of agriculture under this? So agriculture, these peasants were extremely poor, and they worked hard. They worked hard. Trade and industry. What was the position of trade and industry? So there was actually good demand for Indian goods. Good demand for Indian goods abroad. So we used to export cotton, silk, indigo, opium, rice, and many other products. Agricultural products. Next we have we also had a shipbuilding industry. India also had a shipbuilding industry. We had textile industry, your cotton industry. So these were the condition of trade and industry before British conquered. Next, status of education. So education was limited to upper caste. The Shudras and lower caste did not have access to education. So it was based on Varna system. Four Varnas: Brahmanism, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. Okay. So next we have the state of education was traditional. It was not, education was traditional, not modern. So they used to learn religion, Shastras, Vedas, and Upanishads. They did not read modern science or mathematics. So it was actually traditional. So some of the religious institutions were Patashalas and Maktabs. Patashalas and Maktabs are the Patashalas and Maktabs were religious, educational institutions. So higher educations we had, for higher education we had Chatuspatis and Tols. So these were institutions for higher education, So we also had madrasas for Urdu and Arabic learning. So this was the situation of education. Next, societal setup. So societal setup, how was the society organized? So society was organized into many castes and many sects. So many castes and many sects. So we had four Varnas. I already told, four Varnas. Among the four Varnas, there were many subcastes. So many subcastes were there. This was the condition of caste system. And also panchayats, in the rural village panchayats, there were caste system rules. So there was no judicial system. So in the panchayats, they used to give the ruling based on caste system. The rules were made on caste system. Not only among the Hindus, we had among the Muslims Sunnis and Shias among the Muslim population. So that was the social setup. And also in the Muslims, upper castes were called Sharif Muslims and the Muslim lower caste. So Muslim also, there were two categories, upper caste and lower caste. Upper caste called as Sharif Muslims, lower caste called as Ajlaf Muslims. Next, position of women. What was the position of women? The position of women in India was bad. There was sati system, killing of the wife after the husband dies in the funeral pyre. When the husband is being burnt, even the wife is also burnt along with the husband. Sati system was there. Female infanticide was there. When a girl child is born, she was killed as soon as she was born. So that was also there. And also there were systems like purda system, wearing of purda. And also there were systems like child marriage, polygamy, marrying multiple wives. All those were the condition, and there were the dowry, practice of dowry was also there. So next, menace of slavery. There was too much slavery. Slavery was practiced in India. Okay, prevalence of slavery was high. So these were the societal setup in India during before the British conquest. Developments in art, architecture and culture. So what was the development in art and architecture before the British came? So art and architecture flourished during Mughals. What was the art and architecture? We have your Taj Mahal is there, Red Fort is there. So Mughals also encouraged paintings. They encouraged paintings. Your Humayun tomb is there. So many other contribution to art and architecture. So even in the regional state we have Asafudollah, Sadat Khan, Burhanul Mulk, Sadat Khan's successor, Asafudollah in Awadh. He built Bara Imambara. It is the architecture. Bara Imambara, Bara. So also this the Savai Singh, Raja Savai Jai Singh, he built astronomical observatory. So to observe the stars and planets, this Raja Savai Jai Singh also built what? An astronomical observatory. Also, he prepared a timetable. So it is like logarithmic table. So that table was called Jij Muhammad Shahi. Okay. So in the field of music, we had Mirza Ghalib in the Urdu poetry, and also we had Sittar poetry in the Tamil Nadu. Next, we will move towards expansion and consolidation of British power in India. How did British power expand? First, how did it expand? Next, consolidate. So expansion means British power being a small region, how did it expand over time? So next, this is expansion. Consolidation means while expanding, how did it concentrate the power? How did it save the empire? Whatever was expanded, how did it save that expansion? How did it continue to maintain its rule? So consolidation and expansion of British rule in India. Okay. So the British imperial history. So what was the British? So British were actually deeply imperialist. What is imperialist? To conquer other territories and rule over them. So in Britain there were two types of empires. So first empire. So British first empire. So if this is Britain, first empire moves towards west, that is Atlantic Ocean. That is, here is your Americas. First empire moves towards Atlantic. Second empire moves towards east, that is India. So what we see as East India Company is an outcome of second empire. So there were companies. That is merchants who wanted to expand in the region. I already told in extension yesterday class, they were called merchant adventurers. They want to expand towards the east. They were called the New Romans. English were called the New Romans. Roman people had a craze for exploration. They wanted to explore the entire world. So the British were called the New Romans because they also wanted to expand their rule. Right. Okay. Next, was the British conquest accidental or intentional? Did they conquer India by accident, or did they plan and conquer it? Did they plan properly and conquer it, or it just happened? So both sides of views are there. One view says they conquered India in a fit of absent-mindedness. Fit of absent-mindedness means what? They did not have any intention to conquer India. They just conquered it by chance, because Indians were fighting among themselves. Indian rulers were fighting among themselves. British had no option but to conquer India. So next, another view says it is intentional. So intentional means British step by step planned to conquer India. So both the sides of both views are there actually. So when did the British period begin in India? So the first company, East India Company, gets formed in 1600. Thomas Roe comes to India in 1615. So actual British period begins in the 18th century. Middle of 18th century. We have 1757 Battle of Plassey, 1761. So this is not important. 1757 Battle of Plassey, 1764 Battle of Buxar. So we will discuss all these battles today. And 1760 Battle of Vandivash. So yesterday I discussed Vandivash. Between whom? Between French and English. Battle of Vandivash, Battle of Vandavasi takes place in 1760. So in these, via these battles, English established supremacy all over India. Okay. So next. So actually these were the battles through which the English established supremacy. Causes of British success in India. Why did British succeed in India? Superior arms, military and strategy. They were having the most modern weapons, modern guns, modern cannons, modern Firangis and many other things, because of which they were able to conquer India. They were having good military. So the military were disciplined. Military was disciplined and they paid regular salary. Most of the Indian kingdoms did not pay salary to their soldiers, because of which they could not fight properly. So, but British paid regular salary to the soldiers. It motivated them to work for the British. And also they had good strategy. Strategy means plan making to conquer India. Next, civil discipline and fair selection system. So even in civil posts, that is the posts of clerks and other posts, even in military posts, so they were actually fair selection system. The selection system in the under the kings who were selected. Under the kings, actually the soldiers or the ministers or the clerks or the karakoons were selected based on caste system. However, British did not give importance to caste system. They gave importance to merit system. That was also cause for success of British. Next, brilliant leadership and support of second line leaders. What do you mean by second line leaders? So first line leaders. So top army people, top military commanders or first line of leaders. Second line leaders, so subordinate leaders. Those who work under top military commanders are subordinate leaders. They are called as second line leaders. So we had brilliant first line leaders. Who are the first line leaders? Robert Clive, Warren Hastings, Elphinstone, Dalhousie. They were the first good first line leaders. Second line leaders were also good. Who are the second line leaders? Sir Eyrecourt, Arthur Wellesley and many others. However, in India there was only first line leaders. Tipu Sultan, Jaswant Rao Holkar. So Peshwas, they were just Mahatji Scindia, they were just only first line leaders. There was no good second line leaders. So that army depended on only top military commanders, no subordinate leaders. That was also a reason. Next, strong financial backup. Yesterday I told British East India Company used to raise stocks, and they used to finance the military. So raise stocks. They used to sell the shares and also raise debt for the military expansion. So because it was in a private company, it was financially strong. Next, British national pride, nationalism, patriotism of the British also was a reason for causes of British success in India. Okay. Next, we will talk British conquest of Bengal. Very important. How did the British conquer Bengal? So before Bengal conquer, so first the Bengal was part of Mughal Empire. So your who forms it? So Murshid Quli Khan forms Bengal out of the Mughal Empire. So it is a successor state. So state which is born out of the overall Mughal Empire. So okay, Bengal was before British conquest. Bengal was the richest province in India. There was lot of trade. Economically, it was very, very strong. So it also Bengal of that times included Bihar, Bengal and Orissa. So these three regions together were called Bengal province. Okay, so the British initially what they do? They establish factories. Where do they establish factories? Kasim Bazar, Hooghly, Patna, Dhaka and Balasore. So these were the places where they established factories, trading port. So I already told yesterday, Farooq Siyar's Farman, 1715, Farooq Siyar gives dastaks. So in turn they had to pay just 3,000 rupees per year. Pay 3,000 rupees per year and trade the entire year free. They need not pay any taxes. Already told, Murshid Quli Khan establishes Bengal in 1700. He establishes Bengal in 1700. So almost 322 years before. So he establishes Bengal. So his grandson was killed by Alivardi Khan. Alivardi Khan becomes the Nawab of Bengal. He becomes the Nawab of Bengal. He was a very capable ruler. Alivardi Khan was a very capable ruler. So he makes the Bengal province a strong province. Okay. So these Bengal governors, that is Bengal Subedars, Alivardi Khan, Murshid Quli Khan, whoever it may be, they did not like the British presence in Bengal. They hated the British presence. However, they could not do anything because British had support from Mughal Empire. So they had the farmans. So farmans or dastaks, where they were used to use these farmans or dastaks and where you were freely trading in the Bengal province. Okay, Alivardi Khan and English. What happens between Alivardi Khan and English? So Alivardi Khan ruled for 15 years. He ruled for 15 years in the Bengal. He was able to make the Bengal province strong by fighting whom? By fighting the Marathas. Marathas from Maharashtra wanted to conquer Bengal. However, Alivardi Khan fought, then sent them back. He made the Bengal province very strong. So this Alivardi Khan actually also was fighting along with Marathas. Alivardi Khan along with Marathas at one end, he also was fighting in the Carnatic region. The region which is next to Coromandel coast. All your Andhra Pradesh, Odisha and Tamil Nadu form the Carnatic today. Not Odisha, Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu. So Odisha forms under 24 Paraganas. That is different. So Next, after Alivardi Khan dies, next comes Sirajuddaula. Sirajuddaula. So what were the challenges? He was very young when he became the Nawab of Bengal. This Sirajuddaula was just 20 years old. He was just 20 years old. So he actually there were many hostilities for him. There were many opposition. His own aunt was opposed to him. His cousin was opposed to him. They wanted to conquer the Nawabship of Bengal by killing Sirajuddaula, and there were many wealthy merchants. Rich people were also opposed to Sirajuddaula. So what he does? So he actually, these opposition people, so his aunt, his cousin, and also rich merchants, they collaborate, they become one with English and launch a battle. This battle is very, very important. So Battle of Plassey between Sirajuddaula and English. Sirajuddaula versus English, Battle of Plassey, 1757. So this is the battle which sets the ground, which sets the foothold. This sets the foothold for English to build their empire in India. So what is this Battle of Plassey? Why did it start? So this company, English East India Company, what they used to do, the free passes, dastaks, given by whom? Farrukh Shiar, Mughal Empire. So what they used to do, they used to sell these dastaks to and make money. They used to sell these dastaks to local traders. They were actually given to only to English rulers. They were given only to English traders. However, what they used to do, they used to misuse these dastaks. They used to sell it for corrupt money. So they used to take bribe and sell these dastaks. This was actually opposed by Sirajuddaula, and also without Nawab's permission, they fortified the Fort William. So I told Fort William in Calcutta, Fort St. George in Madras. Fort William was fortified without Nawab permission, and also they do many hostile activities. They give space for political opponents. They support political opponents. Okay. So because of all this, the rivalry begins. So what happens in Battle of Plassey? So this Robert Clive. So Robert Clive, one more place he comes where? Second Carnatic War. So Second Carnatic War, Robert Clive comes also into picture during Battle of Plassey. Robert Clive actually, so he comes under he heads a English force. He heads the English army and defeats the defeats Sirajuddaula. So there were many conspiracies. So against Sirajuddaula, his own people did not support him, and he was killed by the army led by whom? Led by Robert Clive. What is the significance of Battle of Plassey? What is the significance of Battle of Plassey? So after this Battle of Plassey, who becomes the Bengal Nawab? Sirajuddaula was killed, and his own relative, one of his relative, which is Mir Jafar. Mir Jafar becomes the Nawab of Bengal. Mir Jafar becomes the Nawab of Bengal. He gives Zamindari of the 24 Parganas. Where is this 24 Pargana region located? It is actually in the modern Odisha region. So Odisha region, entire Zamindari, that is what is Zamindari? Right to collect land revenue, right to collect agricultural tax. So that right was given to whom? That right was given to English by whom? Mir Jafar. Okay, so it also had, this battle had political significance. It established the supremacy of English, because for the first time for the first time English was able to defeat a powerful local ruler. So this is the actually 1757 is the actually the beginning of British Empire in India, because they were able to defeat a powerful local ruler. Okay, next comes Mir Qasim and the Treaty of 1760. So what happens? Mir Jafar also, who is the present after Sirajuddaula, who becomes the Nawab, he also gets irritated by the English. They were demanding too much money. From the Nawab. So what he did, and also here one battle takes place. So yesterday I told Dutch two battles, Battle of Ambrona in Indonesia, and Battle of Hooghly. Where does it take place? In Bengal. So this Battle of Hooghly is also called Battle of Chinsura or Battle of Bedara. So here Dutch versus English, Netherlands versus English. So here what happens? This Mir Jafar joins hands with Dutch. He becomes friends with Dutch and fights the English. So English gets irritated. What they do? They replace him as the Nawab. They remove him from Nawab and replace Mir Qasim. Mir Qasim is the relative of Mir Jafar. So what does Mir Qasim give in return? So in return he gives 3 districts were given to English: Burdwan, Chittagong and Midnapur. So 3 districts were given to him, given to English, and also outstanding dues, whatever the debt which the Bengal had to give to English, that was also given away. And also the English used to get every year 5 lakh rupees. The Bengal Nawab had to pay the English every year. Okay, so what happens? Even this Mir Qasim gets irritated by English rule. So what he does? So what this Mir Qasim does? So he what happens during the rule of Mir Qasim? There is one person, one ruler. So he is the deputy governor of Bihar, Ram Narayan was the deputy governor of Bihar. So deputy governor is whom? Mir Qasim. Deputy governor Ram Narayan. He actually defies, he opposes the governor. However, he is supported by whom? Ram Narayan is supported by English. So he does not pay the revenue to the governor, that is Mir Qasim. So what happens? And also the issue of dastaks, the free passes for trading were rampantly misused. The English were selling these dastaks. They were selling these dastaks for corruption. So what they do? So this Mir Qasim gets irritated. So he declares a war. Against. So first, what does he do? First is this Ram Narayan issue. Second is dastak issue with respect to Mir Qasim. So dastaks, so free trade privilege for English. So it was being given. It was being given to locals for bribe. If the local traders were giving some bribe, dastaks were sold to them. So what he did, he actually made the entire trade free for everyone. Even the Indians were free to trade. However, this was opposed by the English. English said, you cannot give free trade to locals. You can give only free trade to us. You cannot give free trade to your own people. So this was also an issue. So because of which here comes the Battle of Buxar, very, very important, 1764. So he joins hands with whom? He joins hands with Nawab of Awadh. So Nawab of Awadh and also Mughal Emperor. So he joins a hand with Nawab of Awadh and also Mughal Emperor. Mughal Emperor Shah Alam II. Shah Alam II plus Mughal Emperor plus Mir Qasim. Sorry, Shah Alam II plus Shah Alam II plus Nawab of Awadh plus Nawab of Awadh plus Mir Qasim. These three people attack. These three people attack whom? They attack the. So they attack the British. So British actually now had become very strong. They defeat all the three. So Mughal Emperor is also defeated. Awadh Nawab is also defeated. Mir Qasim also gets defeated. So here English supremacy gets established. English becomes the actual ruler because they were to defeat the Mughal Emperor. The ruler of India was defeated. Which battle? Battle of Buxar. Okay. So after this, what happens? The Mir Jafar. So Mir Jafar, who was after Nawab, after Siraj-ud-Dawla, he becomes the Nawab of Bengal again. Mir Qasim was thrown out and Mir Jafar becomes the Nawab. And what does he give? He gives permitted duty-free trade. He permitted duty-free trade for all the goods. English can pay no taxes. English need not pay any taxes and they can trade freely in the entire Bengal region. So here actually one treaty gets signed. This treaty is very, very important. Treaty of Allahabad. Treaty of Allahabad. It was signed in 1765. Nawab Shuja'ud-Dawla. Shuja'ud-Dawla, Nawab of which region? Shuja'ud-Dawla is the Nawab of Awadh. So under this treaty, what does he agree? So he agrees to pay 50 lakh rupees as war compensation to British. So there are many other agreements, not so important. Next, Shah Alam II. Shah Alam II, what does he agree under the Treaty of Allahabad? Under the Treaty of Allahabad. Treaty means a kind of agreement, Oppanda. Okay. So under the Treaty of Allahabad, what does the Mughal Emperor say? He gives Diwani rights of Bengal, Bihar and Orissa. So Diwani rights means right to collect land revenue. Diwani rights means right to collect land revenue, land tax. Okay. He gives the British right to collect land revenue in Bengal, Bihar and Odisha. 3 places, 3 provinces. And he also, okay, so he also pays 50 lakh rupees to the British. So, okay, so here what happens? Here this Shah Alam agrees to pay 50 lakh rupees and in turn British gave him the Nizamat function. Nizamat function means policing function. So Nizamat, policing. Nizamat means policing function. So Shah Alam pays the British 50 lakh rupees, 53 actually, and obtains the Nizamat function, obtains the policing functions. He actually, whatever was earlier his own rule, that is under the Mughal Emperor, they used to do the Nizamat, Diwani, everything. Now Diwani is given, Nizamat function also they take by paying the British. After paying the British, they assume the Nizamat functions. Okay, so actually this Shah Alam pays 53 lakh rupees. Shah Alam pays 53 lakh rupees. Shah Alam pays 53 lakh rupees to British. In turn, British were to manage the Nizamat function, not the Mughal Emperor. Nizamat function policing, law and order, law and order. So this was managed by British. Why did they want to manage? Because Nizam pays money, 53 lakh rupees. Next, dual government in Bengal. So dual government in Bengal between. So this was introduced by Robert Clive. What is this dual government? So dual government means, okay. It is a dual government means rule of two entities. We see if a state is there or a country is there, it is ruled by one government. Dual government means two governments rule over the same region. So what is the dual government? So and it is the rule of two, the company and the Nawab in Bengal. So the revenues and nizamat function, that is Diwani, right to collect taxes, and policing function was, these two functions were managed by British, whereas other functions, administrative functions were managed by the British. So were managed by the local ruler, that is the Nawab. So collect land revenue, land tax collection, police function, British. Other administrative functions, Nawab used to manage. So here what happens is, this gives rise to bad administration. So this British used to take all the money and did not care for administration. This results in oppression of the citizens. People gets disturbed. The population gets disturbed. There was no good or effective rule. So that is why 1772 Warren Hastings abolishes. Warren Hastings in 1772 abolishes dual government and restores single government. Okay. So next we will move to the Mysore's resistance to company. So here we have the Odayer dynasty initially. So in 1612, in the year 1612, these Odayars come to rule in Mysore region. So what happens? Initially it was under the control of Odayars. So Chikka Krishna Raja Odayar was one of the ruler who ruled from 1734 to 1766. Chikka Krishna Raja Odayar. Next, after him, after the rulers, actually in the 18th century, early 18th century. So 18th century means 1700 to 1799. Okay. So this is the period for 18th century. In early 18th century, two commanders, Nanjaraja and Devaraja. So they become the commanders, and the ruler Chikka Krishna Raja Odayar was just a puppet. So the commanders were commanding the king. So here what happens? One person called Hyder Ali becomes the ruler. So here during the rule of Nanjaraja and Devaraja, Marathas frequently attacked the Mysore. Marathas attack the Mysore and take lot of money. Okay. So they take lot of money. Okay. So Mysore becomes financially weak because Marathas take all the money. Mysore becomes financially weak. Okay. Next, so during this time, Hyder Ali becomes the ruler. Hyder Ali becomes the ruler. So he starts as a normal worker in the Mysore army. He starts as a normal worker and rises to the to become the Sultan, rises to become Sultan. He replaces the king. He replaces the Odayyar king and also the other commanders, Nanjaraja and Devaraja, and he becomes the king. Okay, so what does he do? So in 1761, starting 1761, Hyder Ali becomes the de facto ruler. He is the actual ruler. So he makes friendship with French people. He makes friendship with French people and obtains French weapons, French artillery. Artillery means guns. So he obtains French guns. So he also sets up with French help. Hyder Ali with French help, he sets up a weapons factory. See, he sets up a weapons factory in Dindigal. So he sets up a weapons factory in Dindigal. So why does the so he expands his territory. Hyder Ali expands his territory by capturing many areas like Dodballapur, Bednoor, Hoskote. All these places were captured by whom? By Hyder Ali. So what happens earlier during the rule of Odayyars, Marathas used to raid and plunder Mysore. After Hyder Ali starts raiding Marathas. Hyder Ali starts raiding Marathas, go and raid their territories and take the money from there. So first Anglo-Mysore War. 1767 to 1769. So what happens? English would have become very strong after Battle of Buxar. 1764 Battle of Buxar. English would have become very strong. So they have belief in their own capability to defeat any kingdom in India. So what happens? They set their eyes on the Mysore kingdom. English set their eyes on the Mysore kingdom. They conclude a treaty. With Nizam of Hyderabad and English conclude a treaty in 1766, and they now want to capture what? They want to capture the Mysore territories. So the Nizam of Hyderabad, Marathas and English. Marathas, English and Nizam. All these three attacked Hyder Ali in the first Anglo-Mysore War. Okay. So what happens here? Hyderabad, what does he do? He pays bribe to Marathas and Nizams and make them friends. And English becomes without any friend. They become alone. They turn alone. Okay. Then what happens? Hyder Ali, when English becomes alone, he starts defeating the English. After they become alone without any support, he starts defeating the English. Here, this war becomes endless. Here, there was for 2 years there is no conclusion to war. Then they sign the treaty to what? To exchange, to end the war. So English actually will suffer lower. English will actually suffer what? Defeat, like a moral defeat. Even though they don't lose many territories, a kind of moral defeat. That is, they actually suffer the loss of prestige. The English suffer the loss of prestige and sign the Treaty of Madras. First Anglo-Mysore War, Treaty of Madras. Treaty names are important. Treaty of Madras gets signed. Okay. Next, Second Anglo-Mysore War. So under the Treaty of Madras, what they would have agreed, if someone attacks Hyder Ali, English had agreed that if someone attacks Hyder Ali, English would come to the support of Hyder Ali. However, they don't come to, when Marathas again come to fight Hyder Ali, English don't support support. So Hyder Ali said, you have breached the treaty, you have not respected the Treaty of Madras, and says that more than you, the French people are more helpful. More than you guys, the French people are more helpful. So here what happens? Now Hyder Ali, what does he do? He becomes friends with Marathas. He pays the Marathas and makes them friends, and he also makes friends with Nizam and attacks the English. He attacks the English. So he defeats the English multiple times. So in the middle he also gets defeated, but overall if you look at the entire second Anglo-Mysore war, he actually defeats. It is between 1780 and 1784. So he defeats the English overall. Now one treaty gets concluded. So here second Anglo-Mysore war, Treaty of Mangalore. Treaty of Mangalore. Okay. Next we have what? So during the second Mysore war, Hyder Ali dies. Hyder Ali dies of cancer. Hyder Ali dies of cancer during the second Mysore war, and Treaty of Mangalore was signed between Tipu Sultan, Hyder Ali's son, and English. Okay, because the war did not get concluded. Next we have third Anglo-Mysore war. Third Anglo-Mysore war. It starts in 1790. 1790. So what happens? There is a province called Travancore, state called Travancore, which is in present Kerala region. Okay, so under Travancore, one region is called there Cochin, where first Vasco da Gama first comes to India. So this was under the rule of Tipu Sultan. They actually what they do, they defy the authority, they disrespect Cochin, disrespect Tipu Sultan. Cochin rulers disrespect Tipu Sultan. So what they do, Tipu declared a war. So they get aligned with Travancore kingdom and disrespects Tipu. So Tipu actually starts a war with Travancore region, but they are supported by English. This starts the third Anglo-Mysore war. So what happens? So the English attack Tipu. They capture Ambur, Vellore, Bangalore, and even come to Srirangapatnam. So the English comes up to Srirangapatnam and defeats Tipu. Here third Anglo-Mysore war, important treaty of Srirangapatnam. Treaty of Srirangapatnam signed in 1792. The war happens between 1790 and 1792. Okay, so here he has to give many territories to English because he gets defeated. Many territories, Dindigal was given to English, and also Malabar region was also given to English, and many other regions. And Tipu had to pay war indemnity, war fees to the English. He was not able to pay the war fees. So Tipu's two sons were taken as hostage. They were taken as hostage. Okay. Next comes fourth Anglo-Mysore war. What happens in fourth Anglo-Mysore war? Okay. So this starts in 1798. This starts in 1798. Fourth Anglo-Mysore war, 1798 it starts. Okay. So by that time Tipu would have become stronger. Here why this fourth Anglo-Mysore war starts? Here one viceroy or Governor General of India, Lord Wellesley. He is the one who started subsidiary alliance. I am going to explain further in further class. Okay. So what he actually dislikes Tipu. He doesn't like Tipu and wants to end Tipu's rule. Lord Wellesley wants to end Tipu's rule. So he deliberately starts the war because he wants to capture Mysore. He gives some reason that Tipu is doing some bad activities or he is aligning with English enemies and starts the war. So here, fourth Anglo-Mysore war, Tipu Sultan gets defeated. He gets defeated by the English, and Tipu's territory was divided between English, Nizam of Hyderabad and Marathas. These three people divides the Tipu territory, and the remaining territory was given to earlier Odayer rulers. A small territory was given to earlier Odayer rulers. Okay, so this is the Mysore after Tipu. After Tipu, what happens? I told this Nizam gets some territory, English also gets some territory, and also Odayars get some territory. Okay, next Anglo-Maratha struggle for supremacy. What is the fight between English and the Marathas? Anglo-Maratha struggle for supremacy. So how does the Marathas rise? Anglo-Marathas. Marathas means people from Maharashtra. So it actually starts from the rule of Shivaji. But Marathas, actually the rule doesn't not much important during the rule of Shivaji, but during the rule of Peshwas. We are going to discuss what is the Peshwa rule. So after Mughal Empire declined, once the Mughal Empire declines after Aurangzeb, these Marathas emerge as what states? They emerge as independent state. Independent state. Three kinds of state I discussed at the beginning of the class. Marathas emerge as a independent state. After Mughal Empire declines. So 1761, what happens? Ahmad Shah Abdali from Persia, he defeats Marathas in which battle? Battle of Panipat. Third battle of Panipat. But they regain their energy. And actually they regain their energy, extend the rule. So actually Maratha king will be Shahu. Maratha king during Marathas peak period. So when the Maratha rule was in the peak, the king was King Shahu. Was he ruling the Marathas? No. Actually there were 5 confederacies. What are the 5 confederacies? Maratha 5 confederacies means 5 Maratha families were ruling over the various regions of India. They together form the Marathas. What were the 5 families? First family is Gayakwad of Baroda. So today's Vadodara in Gujarat. Their Gayakwads were there. Next we have Bhonsle of Nagpur. So this was the second family. Nagpur, Bhonsles were there. Third, Holkars of Indore, today's Madhya Pradesh capital. Their Holkar family was there. And Sindhyas of Gwalior. So these people in the Madhya Pradesh, Gwalior. So the Sindhyas were from Gwalior. Then Peshwa of Pune. Peshwa under Pune. These 5 families together form the Marathas. And the king was Shahu. 5 families together form the Marathas. Okay. So what happens? Entry of English into Maratha politics. How did the English enter into Maratha politics? Okay. During early 19th century. 19th century means what? 1800 to 1899. During early 19th century, that is during beginning of 1800s, 1810, during that time, what happens? So they want to actually establish a English proper province in the around the Bombay region. Bombay, I told, Bombay they get English get from Portuguese, so they will be, it will be their headquarters in the western coast. Eastern coast, it was Calcutta was the headquarters, right? So around the Bombay region, they want to establish a proper province around the Bombay region. So this is why they enter the Maratha politics. They want to establish political supremacy over the region. That is why they enter the Maratha politics. Also, the reason is Marathas were divided. So they made use of the divide and rule policy, and they wanted to enter the Maratha politics. First Anglo-Maratha War. So after the death of so what happens? Madhav Rao will be the Peshwa. Actually, Maratha rules will be called the rule of Peshwas. So I told 5 families. Out of the 5 families, Peshwas were the most important. So Peshwas were ruling, exercising control over other families as well. Okay. So after Madhav Rao Peshwa dies, his brother Narayan Rao becomes what? He becomes the 5th Peshwa. However, his uncle, Narayan Rao's uncle, Raghunath Rao wants Peshwaship. So what he does? He kills Narayan Rao. However, this was opposed by the local people, local other ministers. Here one person is important, Nana Fadnavis. He will be a minister. Nana Fadnavis. So what happens? Nana Fadnavis and other ministers oppose whom? Raghunath Rao, who illegally killed Narayan Rao Peshwa. Okay. So what happens? So they oppose the Raghunath Rao. So what Raghunath Rao does? He goes and takes the support of English, because he gets opposition from the Nana Fadnavis and other ministers. He goes and takes the support of English. He pays some money. He gives some territory to English, and in turn takes what? Military support. However, Nana Fadnavis, he also takes the opposition. So Raghunath Rao also takes the support of English, and Nana Fadnavis also takes the support of English. So when Raghunath Rao gets more support, Nana Fadnavis, so actually what happens? Nana Fadnavis actually realizes the situation that English are not supporting us. They are supporting the Raghunath Rao. So he violates the treaty. And goes to French and gives a port to French. So what happens? English and Marathas come to fight. So outside Pune, the battle happens between outside the Pune. So here one commander is important. Mahadji Scindia. I told Mahadji Scindia, one of the important commanders. He belongs to Scindia family of Gwalior. So what happens? He fights the British properly. Mahadji Scindia fights the British properly. So these Marathas are famous for guerrilla warfare. What is guerrilla warfare? Suppose there are mountains. Here plain region is there. So if the English army is there in the middle, so what they do? These Marathas attack from the mountains. They come and attack from the mountains. This warfare is called guerrilla warfare. The Marathas were very famous in this guerrilla warfare. So what they do? They actually capture the English in a village. So a village called Vadgaon. In Vadgaon, they capture the English. Then they cut off their supply chain. Supply chain means food and arms come to the English from the central authority. So this supply chain of food and arms will be cut off. So these people will be starving, no food, no arms. So then they sign a treaty. Okay, so the most important treaty here is Treaty of Salbai. Treaty of Salbai 1782. First Maratha-Anglo War gets ended after Treaty of Salbai. S-A-L-B-A-I. Salbai. Okay, so first they sign a Treaty of Vadgaon to break this capture. However, the Treaty of Vadgaon is not so important. So don't confuse, just write Treaty of Salbai. So after Vadgaon, what happens? After Treaty of Vadgaon, Mahaji Scindia gets defeated at a different place. So he gets defeated. So English and Maratha position become equal. Initially, Marathas will be high. However, English also raise. So the position will be equal. Okay. So then what happens? There are many other treaties in this. Treaty of Purandar is there. Many. So the treaties are not important. Just remember Treaty of Salbai. That is more than sufficient. If I tell more treaties, the more confusion you will get. Okay. So the whole what happens in the Treaty of Salbai? So here, so English gets the trade privileges as before. So treaty, they get the trade privileges as before. So they can trade in the Maratha region. That will get continued, and English also get Salsette region, Salsette and Basin. That region English will get, and also whatever the territories conquered by each other were restored. So the provisions of the treaty are not so important. So what is important is that name of the treaty and when did it happen. Next, Second Anglo-Maratha War. Second Anglo-Maratha War 1803 and 1805. So here what happens? One Peshwa. So Peshwa Bajirao II. So he is a bad Peshwa. So he is not a worthy Peshwa. So what he does? He kills brother of Holkar. So family, Peshwa family at Indore. Peshwa at Pune, Indore Holkar. So this Peshwa kills Holkar, one Holkar family member. Holkar family member. So this what happens? These Holkar members get angry. So here one exceptionally good commander is there. His name is called Jaswantrao Holkar. Because his brother gets killed, he comes against the Peshwa. He marches against the Peshwa to fight the Peshwa. So Jaswantrao, what does he do? He defeats the Peshwa. So when he defeats the Peshwa, this Peshwa goes to seek the help of English. So they go to seek the help of English, and they sign a treaty between Peshwa and English. This treaty is important. Treaty of Basin. Treaty of Basin. B-A-S-S-E-I-N. Treaty of Basin gets signed in 1802. So what does the treaty say? So here the Peshwa gives one territory, company territories worth 26 lakh rupees. Territories were given to Peshwa, gives his own territories to English to seek their support. Okay, next he gives the city of Surat. And also he agrees that no, he will not support any other Europeans. So and also under Treaty of Basin, he accepts subsidiary alliance. Peshwa accepts subsidiary alliance. What is subsidiary alliance? So under subsidiary alliance, what happens is, suppose, so here is British. Suppose a local ruler is there. Let us take ruler of Mysore. So he wants military support. So what does he do? He gives some money. Or some territory to whom? To British. In turn, what the British do? They give some military forces. They will give some 3,000 or 4,000 soldiers to support the local ruler. So Hyderabad signs subsidiary alliance. Your Mysore also signed subsidiary alliance. Even under Treaty of Basin, even Peshwa also signed subsidiary alliance. So there are many treaties, Treaty of Diagaon, Treaty of Rajput, not important. Just remember Treaty of Basin, more than sufficient. Okay. Next, significance of the Treaty of Basin. Here it is said, just like Battle of Plassey is important in the eastern region, Bengal region, Treaty of Basin gives the more authority. Treaty of Basin gives overwhelming authority to English to rule over Western India. So this is the beginning of actual rule of British in the western part of country. Okay, next we will talk about Third Anglo-Maratha War. Third Anglo-Maratha War, 1817 to 1819. So there is a specific issue here. What is the issue? The our external issue is there will be one governor general called Lord Hastings. Lord is not Warren Hastings, but a different Lord, different governor general, just named as Lord Hastings, not Warren Hastings. So he is imperialistic in design. That is, he is an imperialistic person. He wants to capture as many territories as possible. Here one issue takes place, Pindaris issue. Pindaris issue. So these Pindaris were actually commanders, or they were mercenaries. So mercenaries means what? Mercenaries means they are soldiers. They are soldiers. So you pay them, they support you. If you pay them, they fight for you. So they are called mercenaries. So these Pindaris were mercenaries of Marathas. Marathas used to pay them and they used to support the Marathas. So after Maratha Empire gets, after Maratha Empire, after Second World War, Second War of Anglo and Maratha, what happens? Pindaris become jobless because Maratha Empire weakens. So they started plundering the local territories. They start looting. They start looting the local territories. So here what happens? They attack even English territories. So what does English say to the Marathas? That you are supporting the Pindaris. You are supporting the Pindaris to loot the local region. So what happens? Lord Hastings, what does he do? He takes strict action against Pindaris. Strict action against Pindaris, even in the territory of Peshwa. So he comes into the territory of Peshwa and takes action against Pindaris. So Peshwa doesn't like this. So what does he do? He attacks the British residency. The Peshwa attacks the British residency, and also so here during Third Anglo-Maratha War, all the 5 families come together. If not all, most of the 5 families of Marathas I mentioned, they come together. They form unity. They attack British at different places. Your Peshwa attacks in Pune, Holkar attacks in Nagpur. So overall, all of them gets completely defeated by British. So British completely gets defeated and they lose and Peshwaship gets abolished. Peshwaship gets abolished and Maratha rule ends. Okay. So why did the Marathas lose? Why did the Marathas lose? So no good leadership. There was no good leaders among the Marathas. That was the first nature. And second nature is defective nature of Maratha state. Defective nature means their military was not strong, their administration was not strong, their economic policies were not strong. That is, they were not focusing on making economy strong. When economy is not strong, the empire doesn't get any money. So when they don't get any money, what happens? They won't be able to pay salaries. They won't be able to buy arms and ammunition, new weapons. So that is why the defective nature of Maratha state. Next, loose political setup. The Marathas were spread over 5 regions. So there was no strong political setup. Next, inferior military system. There they used to fight with weapons like swords, and where English were fighting with guns. Next, as I said, unstable economic policies. Their economy was weak. Next, superior English diplomacy and espionage. So English diplomacy was good. They were good in espionage, that is treachery, that is cheating. English were good at cheating. So they used to send spies. They used to send spies to other, spies means gudacharru. So they used to spend spies and used to get to know of the plan. So that is also a reason for Maratha losing. Next we will talk about the conquest of Sindh. Sindh, where is it today? Today it is in Pakistan. Okay, so this Sindh, how did it get? How did the British conquer Sindh? Okay, so here, so the British were enjoying free trade in the Sindh region. They were enjoying free trade because of what? Because of Farman. So rise of Talpura Amirs. So Sindh were earlier ruled by Kallora chiefs. Kalloras. So they were a kind of tribe. So Sindh today, if this is your India and this is your Pakistan, so somewhere here comes the Sindh region. Okay. Sindh were, sorry, one second. So if somewhere here you get the Sindh region. So Sindh was ruled by whom? It was ruled by Kallora chiefs. Who was the important Kallora chief? Ghulam Shah. So they did not allow, the Sindh were not allowed to, these English were not allowed to set up factory in the Sindh region. Set up factory in the Sindh region. Here what happens? These Kalloras were defeated by Talpura Amirs. Talpuras, Talpuras are another tribe. They come and defeat the Kalloras and they take control of the Sindh region. So important Talpura Amir, it is Mir Fatah Ali Khan. Mir Fatah Ali Khan. Okay, after Mir Fatah Ali Khan, Sindh was divided into 4 regions. 4 regions, 4 brothers, 4 Amirs called Char Yar. Char Yar. They divide and Char Yar, Char-Yar. They divide and rule the Sindh region. They divide and rule the Sindh region. Okay. So what happens? So gradual ascendancy over Sindh. So how did the British gain ascendancy? They gained control over Sindh. How did the British gain control over Sindh? Okay. So the British were thinking that Napoleon of France was conspiring, was planning to attack English in friendship with Tipu Sultan. Tipu Sultan and Napoleon were planning to attack English. This was though not real. The English believed like that. So they wanted to safeguard their empire. They wanted to safeguard their empire. So Sindh, actually here Hindu Kush mountain is there. Sulaiman range is there. Sulaiman range, Hindu Kush mountain. They were actually acting as a natural barrier. Natural barrier means what? Your Himalayas. Himalayas are natural barriers. Means people from other side of Himalayas cannot come to India easily. So it is a natural protection. Likewise, this side, these mountains were according natural protection. So British thought, if we capture Sindh, our Indian territory would be safe from attack from Russia or France. Okay. So here what they do, they force the Sindh people to sign a treaty. So this treaty is called Treaty of Eternal Friendship. Eternal Friendship, continued friendship. It was signed in 1807. So this Treaty of Eternal Friendship was signed in 1807. So So this was actually forced by the British. The British forced the Sindh Amirs. Sindh were ruled by Amirs, 4 Amirs. I told Char Yar. So this Char Yar and your British signed the treaty called Treaty of Eternal Friendship and agree that they won't allow the French to occupy India. This was the brief of the agreement. Next, one more treaty they signed, the Treaty of 1832. Treaty of 1832. It was signed by William Bentinck. So here what happens here? So even after capturing Sindh, the British had plans to conquer Afghanistan region as well. So in order to conquer Afghanistan under this treaty, they asked for free passage. Free passage means British troops, British army will be allowed to pass through Sindh without any opposition from Sindh armies to capture Afghanistan. This was agreed in the Treaty of 1832. Okay, and also the treaty excluded any other persons. They excluded the France, similar to Treaty of Eternal Friendship, and also they in the treaty the Sindh demanded that they won't allow any no French merchant, merchant would settle down in Sindh. That was also a factor of the Treaty of 1832. Not very important, just remember the date. Only free passage point is important. Next, Lord Auckland and Sindh. There will be a person called Lord Auckland. Auckland, Auckland. What does he do? Lord Auckland. So he will be the Governor General of India. So he thinks that this Lord Auckland, what does he think? He thinks that Russia is going to invade Sindh. Russia is going to invade Sindh. So he wants to protect this, invade India. So he wanted to protect this front from where Russia will enter India. So this is the point from where Russia will enter India. So he wants to protect this barrier. So what does he do? So actually he wants to capture even the Afghanistan region so that Russia won't be able to enter India easily. So Russia won't be able to enter India easily. So he wants to capture Afghanistan as well. So what does he do? So he signs a new treaty. So he signs a new treaty, the Treaty of Tripartite Treaty. I discussed Tripartite Treaty already. Tripartite Treaty, treaty between British, Punjab and Sindh versus Afghanistan. This treaty was signed. Okay. So what does this treaty say? So it says that, okay. So it actually allows the British to this treaty actually. So here what happens? These Amirs and Punjab, that is Sindh and Punjab, will be fighting. So this treaty says that this fight will end. That is, Ranjit Singh will not attack Sindh. That is, Punjab will not attack Sindh. That is the first point. And also the English, if there is any dispute between Punjab and Sindh, who will solve it? The British will solve it. This was provided by the treaty. Okay. So and also this is the second point of treaty. And the third point is, so this Emperor Shah Shuja of Afghanistan will not claim Sindh. This is the third part of the treaty. That is, Emperor Shah Shuja, that is Afghanistan Emperor, will not demand Sindh, will not conquer Sindh or intervene in Sindh politics. These are the 3 points of the tripartite treaty. So here next, Sindh, even after this, the British forced Sindh to accept subsidiary alliance. Subsidiary alliance. Okay, so what happens? The Amirs, the Sindh Amirs were forced to pay for troops. They pay some money. As I said, in the subsidiary alliance, the Sindh Amirs pay money to British and they provide troops. So Sindh accepts subsidiary alliance after signing the treaty 1838. Okay, under this treaty, the Amirs were debarred from having any foreign contacts. They, apart from English, cannot have relationship with any other foreign power. This was signed. Next, capitulation of Sindh. How did Sindh fall? So later on, even after subsidiary alliance, English doesn't get satisfied. They want to conquer the entire Sindh. So what do they do? So Anglo-Afghan War. Here one issue happens, Anglo-Afghan War. British and English people fight in the war of 1839 to 1842. So what happens? So even because of subsidiary alliance, they use the Sindh troops, that is troops of British stationed in Sindh, that is British troops which was in the Sindh province, that was used to capture Afghanistan, whereas Afghanistan, British suffer a defeat. So they run back to India, British run back to India. So here what happens, they get irritated, they say that these Amir troops, that is troops of Sindh, did not fight the war properly, that is why we lost. So they ask the Sindh Amirs to pay for the war. So British are fighting the war in Afghanistan. Who has to pay for it? It is the Sindh. This was the illegal policy or the bad policy of the English. So what happens? So after they gets defeated, they say Sindh is responsible. So British gets defeated in Afghanistan. However, they blame Sindh for their defeat. Sindh did not support properly. Okay. So after that, so they progressively conquer Sindh. They say Sindh did not support us in the Afghan war, so we are going to conquer it, and they make the Amirs, that is Sindh Amirs, to leave the region, and they conquer the entire Sindh. Entire Sindh comes under the power of whom? Power of the English. Okay, criticism of the conquest of Sindh. So there was lot of criticism because there Afghanistan, this English loses, but there was no role for Sindh. But they blame the Sindh for their loss and conquer it. So many people blame the British policy. They say your policy is not good. This is the criticism of what? Conquest of Sindh. Next, we'll look at conquest of Punjab. Conquest of Punjab. How did the Punjab was conquered? Okay. So 1715, there will be, after Guru Govind Singh will also get killed. Afterwards, Sikhs emerge strong under Banda Bahadur. However, he was killed by Farooq Siyar. 1715, who gives firmans to English dastaks. So the Punjab emerges strong under whom? Banda Bahadur. Okay. So after this, Banda Bahadur gets killed. The entire Sikh gets divided into two groups. One is Bandai. Another is Khalsa. Tat Khalsa. So entire group Sikh group gets divided into Bandai and Sikh Tat Khalsa. However, later on, so this Khalsa had many sections, one of which is Dal Khalsa, DALKHALSA, Dal Khalsa. So they were strong politically, economically and culturally. So this Khalsa was divided into, one of the Khalsa is Dal Khalsa. This Khalsa was divided into two things. Khalsa, a kind of community of the Sikhs. So one is Bandai, another is Khalsa. So under which we have Dal Khalsa, and it was divided into Budadal and Tarundal. Budadal, older people, Tarundal, younger people. So it was divided into two regions. So here they observe the weakness of the Mughals. So after Nadir Shah 1837, Ahmad Shah Abdali 1761, they observe that Mughals are not strong, even Marathas are not strong. So they want to establish a kingdom. So just like how Marathas were divided into 5 families, so the Sikhs were divided into 12 mizals. I told already, 12 groups. It was called mizals, 12 confederacies. So they start ruling the Punjab. So under which we have one mizal called Suker Chakia mizal. Suker Chakia mizal, the mizal of the confederacy of whom? The confederacy of Ranjit Singh. Okay. So this there are 12 mizals. We have a Halwalia mizal, Fazulporia mizal, Dalewalia mizal and many other mizals. Mizals names are not important. Just remember Suker Chakia mizal, from which Ranjit Singh comes. Okay. So each mizal was headed by Gurmata Sangh, the head of the mizal, or it is like a ministry. Under each mizal was headed by a Gurmata Sangh, Gurmatta, Gurmata Sangh. Okay. So this what happens? This Ranjit Singh. So this Afghanistan. So the Afghanistan was embroiled in civil war during. So out of Suker Chakia mizal we get Ranjit Singh emerges. This person observes that Afghanistan there was lot of struggle. Afghanistan there was lot of struggle, and also even in the Sindh region there was lot of struggle. So he acquired, this Ranjit Singh acquired. So first he gets appointed as a governor of Lahore by ruler of Afghanistan. First he becomes the governor of Lahore appointed by Afghan ruler. So what does he do? Ranjit Singh. So he later on acquires Jammu and Kashmir. He acquires Jammu, Amritsar, Lahore and Lahore. These 3 regions he acquires and forms the Punjab region. See, he acquires these 3 regions and forms the Punjab kingdom. So what was the relationship of Ranjit Singh and English? So Ranjit Singh was a clever ruler. So he knew the threat from English. So he had actually very good relationship with Ranjit Singh had very good relationship with the English. Okay. So Ranjit Singh, what does he do? He establishes the territory between Sutlej and Jhelum. So Jhelum is a river and Sutlej is a river. Between this he establishes the territory, and outside this Cis Sutlej territory, that is territories outside the Sutlej, were given to whom? Were given to the English. Okay. So he signs a treaty. He signs Treaty of Amritsar. Treaty of Amritsar with English. Ranjit Singh and English, Treaty of Amritsar. So under which the English get the Cis Sutlej territory. That is territories outside the Sutlej river were given to the English. Okay. He also signs the tripartite treaty. I already said tripartite treaty. He also signs. Okay. Next. So, Ranjit Singh, I already said, was very clever. He did not oppose the English directly. So, he did not oppose the English directly. What happens to Punjab after Ranjit Singh? Ranjit Singh dies of old age afterwards. So, what happens? Their court factions, that is in the kingdom, that is in the Punjab court. Punjab court means court of the rulers, that is Asthana. In Kannada it is called Asthana, Rajana Asthana. So in the court, what happens? There will be lot of factions, lot of fight. So lot of fight for power. So what happens? After Ranjit Singh, his son Karak Singh becomes the ruler. However, he gets killed and his son also gets killed, and there will be lot of deaths due to court faction. Many people gets killed. So, okay. So also Ranjit Singh's commanders were also dead. So there was no proper ruler. There was no proper ruler in the Punjab region. Okay. So here one person comes called Rani Jindan and Dalip Singh. So after the series of murder, there will be lot of murders. So then the Dalip Singh is the minor son below the age of 18. He becomes the ruler. However, he also gets killed. Okay. So after which we have Rani Jindan during the rule of Dalip Singh. During the rule of Dalip Singh, Rani Jindan, Dalip Singh, minor son of Ranjit Singh, Rani Jindan acts as a regent. Regent means what? So actually, the minor son of Ranjit Singh, Dalip Singh, will be sitting on the throne, but actual government will be carried out by Rani Jindan as a regent, as a representative. Okay. So they were managing the rule of Punjab for a short while. However, the first Anglo-Sikh war here comes after Ranjit Singh's death. First Anglo-Sikh war begins 1845 to 1846. Okay. So what happens? Here I already said Sutlej River was the boundary of the Punjab kingdom. Sutlej River. Sutlej passes through Punjab and flows into where? Pakistan. So what happens? This Sikh army, that is Sikhs, crossed this territory. So they march into the territory of English. So this actually angers the English. And also one more reason, there was anarchy in Lahore kingdom. There was no proper ruler in the Lahore kingdom. That was seen as an opportunity. By the English. Next we have there were many suspicion. The English Sikh army was not strong. So because of these reasons, so English tried to intervene in the Punjab politics. Okay. So course of the war. So because of all these three reasons, a war starts. So here the Punjab gets defeated. And they sign a treaty. Treaty name is important. 1846 Treaty of Lahore. Treaty of Lahore is signed between whom? Between Punjab and the English. Okay. So here the English demand 1 crore rupees from Punjab, and also they demand Jalandhar Doab, that is between Sutlej and one more river, between Sutlej and Beas. So there are Panjnath, Jhelum, Indus, Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Beas, Sutlej, totally 6 rivers. So between Bees and Sutlej, whatever the region was there, that was demanded by English under the Treaty of Lahore. And also a British resident was resident means British representative was sent to Punjab court, Punjab kingdom. Next, so okay, next, second Anglo-Sikh War 1848 to 1849. What were the causes? So the Sikhs were humiliated. They were felt low. They were made to feel low in the first Anglo-Sikh War. So they start the second Anglo-Sikh War. They were humiliated. That was one of the reason. And also in Multan. So Multan, where is it today? It is in Pakistan. So in Multan there will be revolt. There will be revolt against the English. These Punjabi people, Punjabi kingdom supports that revolt. This was seen as an opportunity by the English to wage a war against Punjab and completely remove them. Course of the war. How did the war expand? Okay, so there were many battles were fought. However, the Punjab loses. So what happens? What was the result of this war? So the result is the Sikh army surrenders, and also entire Punjab comes under the rule of whom? Under the English. What is the significance of Anglo-Sikh War? Anglo-Sikh War, British established their territory. So Treaty of Basin, they established paramountcy or rule in the western region. And also Battle of Plassey and Treaty of Allahabad. After Battle of Buxar 1764, they established their territory in the Bengal region, Bombay region. And second Anglo-Sikh War, they established region in their rule in the northern region. So this is the significance of the Anglo-Sikh Wars. Okay, next is extension of British paramountcy through administrative policy. Extension of British paramountcy through administrative policy. What is extension of British paramountcy? What do you mean by paramountcy? So, paramountcy means the overall rule, overarching rule. That is, so there are many local kingdoms, right? So we have Marathas, we have Hyderabad, we have Mysore, we have Hyderabad, we have Punjab, we have Bengal. So over all these kingdoms, a overall kingdom, a big kingdom or a big empire will look after. So that empire is British Empire. They exercise paramountcy, overarching authority, or the umbrella rule or a overall rule over all these kingdoms. That is called as British paramountcy. So through administrative policy. So how did they exercise paramountcy? Through administrative policies. What are the administrative policies? So next, what are the administrative policies? So earlier they used to do what? Earlier they used to do policy of annexation by war. Annexation by war. Next is policy of annexation by diplomacy. So policy of annexation by war, annexation by diplomacy. Earlier war. If the British wants to conquer a territory, they used to conquer it either by war or diplomacy. So war or diplomacy. So they fight a war, they take the territory of the opponent. That is called annexation. Annexation means taking the territory. Or they used to do diplomacy. Diplomacy, your subsidiary alliance, and so many other things. Through that they used to take the territory. So certain administrative policies. Policy of ring fence. Policy of ring fence. So this policy was started by Warren Hastings. Warren Hastings starts the policy of ring fence. What do you mean by policy of ring fence? So this policy was used by Warren Hastings to counter the Marathas, Mysore and Hyderabad. So what does this policy mean? Suppose this is British territories, that is Bengal. So here is a enemy territory. So in the middle there is a territory. In the middle, this is enemy territory, this is British territory. Suppose in the middle there is a territory. So what they do, the British want this territory under their overall rule. Overall rule means their overall control. So what they do, they they bring them under their overall rule. So this will be treated as a buffer. Buffer means, so they want to, if the enemy wants to attack the British, they want to come through this buffer. So first they have to attack this state, then have to come to this attack the British, right? So what they do, this territory, the middle territory also they will take into control. So they will, suppose they will build a ring of fence. Fence means what? So fence is like a wall around the house. If your house is here, you build a fence around the house. So this British around their territory, they want to build a ring of fence. So if someone has to get into British, they have to go through this buffer state. This is the policy of ring fence devised by whom? Devised by Warren Hastings. So he used it against Marathas, Mysore and Hyderabad. Okay. So one example I will give. So here what happens? Here Bengal is there. So suppose next to Bengal there is Awadh province. Awadh, and Mughal Empire is there, and external invasions. External invasion. If someone has to come to Bengal, they have to pass through Awadh. So in the Battle of Buxar, Treaty of Allahabad, this Awadh was made a friendly state. Awadh was made a friendly state to Bengal. Treaty of Allahabad. Your Shuja'ud-Dawla, Nawab of Awadh, was made a friendly ruler. So this was made a buffer state. So buffer state, if someone has to attack Bengal, they have to go through Awadh. So this was made a buffer state. This was the policy of ring fence. Practiced by whom? Practiced by Warren Hastings. Next, we have subsidiary alliance. Subsidiary alliance. Subsidiary alliance I have already explained. Who devised this? This was devised by Lord Wellesley. So initially this was used by Lord Dupleix as well. Lord Dupleix, French governor in Pondicherry. He was famous during Second Carnatic War. So this was continued by whom? Lord Wellesley. So they take money, in turn they place British troops, British soldiers in the territory. Okay. So under subsidiary alliance, British forces, British troops will be there in the territory, and also a British resident, a British representative will also be there in the local ruler court, in the Astana. Okay. Next, the Indian ruler who has signed the subsidiary alliance cannot employ any other European power. He cannot employ the French, he cannot employ the Dutch, he cannot employ the Portuguese or any other European citizens. Okay. So subsidiary alliance, why did Wellesley do? He did it in order to control the French. So in order to control the threat from French. So this subsidiary alliance policy was designed. Okay. So here it is called Indian rulers lost their independence by buying security. Subsidiary alliance, buying of troops is like buying security. So they lost their independence by buying security. Okay. So evolution and perfection. How did this policy evolve? So actually, though it was started by Lord Wellesley, it was started by Dupleix, but it was perfected. It was perfected. That is, it was evolved and perfected by British. So first subsidiary alliance was Awadh. Awadh signed the first treaty of subsidiary alliance. Next, Hyderabad signs the subsidiary alliance. Nawab of Carnatic signs first, then the Hyderabad ruler. There are 3 stages of application of subsidiary alliance. Subsidiary alliance was applied in 3 stages: stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3. Okay, what were the 3 stages? So if the local ruler wanted troops to fight any enemy, so 2 rulers, if this ruler wants to fight him, so the British helped him by providing troops. Troops means soldiers. So in turn they demanded money. In the second stage they demand for money. In the second stage, what they do? So they place their soldiers. So first they offer the troops. Second, they send the soldiers. Third stage, they demand for money. They demand for money for placing the troops. Fourth stage, what happens? Fourth stage, if the local ruler doesn't provide money, what they will do? They will annex this territory. They will annex or take over the territory. 4 stages of applying subsidiary alliance. Suppose I will explain again. Suppose a local ruler as an enemy with another ruler. So the British will say, we will provide you troops. So this is the first stage. Second stage, they will give the troops. Third stage, for the given troops, they demand money. So fourth stage, if the money is not given, they are going to say that we will annex your territory. So this was the steps of subsidiary alliance. So who were the rulers? Mysore, Hyderabad, Nawab of Awadh, many of them accepted the subsidiary alliance. Next, doctrine of lapse. Doctrine of lapse. So what is this doctrine of lapse? So under doctrine of lapse, if a ruler did not have a male son, if a ruler did not have a male heir or a son, so what does he do? If he dies without a son, so if a ruler dies without a son, then his territory will be taken over by the British. This is the broad policy of what? Broad policy of doctrine of lapse. So who perfected it? It was perfected by Lord Dalhousie. Dalhousie, what does he do? He enforces your Jhansi. Jhansi was taken over because there was no male heir. That is, no son to the ruler. He dies without a son. There is no successor. So that territory was taken over by the Lord Dalhousie. So Nagpur was taken over, Jaitapur was taken over, and many other territories were taken over. Even Awadh, which had signed subsidiary alliance, was also taken over, not because of doctrine of lapse, but Dalhousie, Governor General of India, says that Awadh was misgoverned, that is, no proper government. So because of which he takes over Awadh. Awadh is also taken over. Okay. Next, we will discuss relations of British India with neighboring countries. Okay. So relationship of British India with neighboring countries. Anglo-Bhutanese relations. So in 1826, British occupy Assam. British, what do? They occupy Assam. So these Bhutanese used to raid Assam frequently. They used to come and raid Assam and they loot the money. So here this brought the British in conflict with Bhutanese. So they fight, the British and Bhutanese fight, and Bhutanese had to surrender lot of territory. To British. Next, Anglo-Nepalese relation. Okay. So the Gorkhas of Nepal come to power in 1760. The Gorkhas come to power in Nepal in 1760. Okay. So the Gorkhas try to expand in the southern direction. So the Gorkhas in the Himalayas, they want to expand in the southern direction because towards the north Himalaya is there. They cannot go towards the north, so they want to come towards the south. However, in the south British is there. Gorakhpur, which is in UP today, which is close to border of Nepal, was under the rule of whom? Was under the rule of British. This brought them into the conflict. Both of them, this Gorkhas and British comes into conflict. Here one treaty is very, very important. Treaty of Sagauli, 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 1816. Your Kalapani issue recently. So it has origin in the Treaty of Sagauli. So what is Treaty of Sagauli? According to Treaty of Sagauli, a British representative was sent to Nepal. That is the first provision. Second, Nepal gave Garhwal and Kumaon, which is in today India, that was surrendered by Nepal to English. Okay. Nepal also, which was ruling Sikkim, they gave Sikkim also to British. So these were and they demarcated. This Treaty of Sagauli demarcated means marked the boundary between India and Nepal. Next, we will discuss Anglo-Burmese relation. What is Burma? Burma means today's Myanmar, which is towards the east of India. Okay. So Burma was a free country. So these Burmese, they wanted to expand westward. That is, they wanted to conquer northeast India, your Manipur, your Mizoram, your Tripura. They wanted to conquer. Okay. However, the Assam, in the Assam, there were British were there. So this brought both of them into conflict. So first Burma War, important. So it was between 1824 to 1826. So what is the reason? This Burmese come and occupy the Brahmaputra Valley, Manipur. They come and occupy the Manipur and they want to occupy the Brahmaputra Valley. However, so the British were already there in Assam. They fight and this results in a treaty of Yandabo. YANDABO, Yandabo. Treaty of Yandabo is signed. In the Yandabo, what happens? 1 crore rupee. 1 crore rupee. Burmese had to give 1 crore rupee to English, and also they had to cede many territories to English. Next, they also said Assam and many territories. Assam, many territories in Meghalaya. The Burmese said, we don't have any claim, we won't come here. So these were some of the provisions of the treaty. Second Burmese War. Second Burmese War happens exactly 25 years later. That Burmese War, 1852 to 1853. So this was the period between the Second World War. So why the second Burma War? Why the second Burma War takes place? Because of imperialistic policy of Dalhousie. What do you mean by imperialistic policy? Imperialistic means, so this Dalhousie wants to capture as many territories as possible, because of which he starts the war. He starts the war with Burma. So also British merchants. So British merchants wanted to take control over the wood resources. So timber resources. Burma was rich in timber. Even today you get teak from Myanmar. So the teak is called Burma teak. So this British wanted to have control over the timber resources of Myanmar. That is why they take control over the they fight the second Burma War. So initially first Burma War. So if this is Burma, first Burma War, they take control of the northern Burma. Second Burma War, they even take control of the southern Burma, south part of Myanmar. Third Burma War takes place in the year 1885, exactly 35 years later, 1885 to 87. Third Burma War takes place. So here what happens? One king name is Thibaw, Thibaw, Thibaw. So this person was not liking English. He sent the British merchants outside of Burma. He sent them back. Okay. So he used to persecute the British merchants, and he was supporting French, Germany and Italians. This led to the conflict. This led to the conflict in the which resulted in the Third Burma War. Anglo-Tibetan region. Tibet, where is it? It is above Himalayas. Above Himalayas, right? So today under the control of whom? Today under the control of Chinese. So Tibet was ruled by lamas. Tibet was ruled by lamas. Today you have Dalai Lama. So Lama is a sect. So these lamas were ruling over the Tibet. Lama sect was ruling over Tibet. Okay. So these lama were ruling with overall control of China. China was exercising overall control. However, it was a autonomous region. So what happens? Curzon. So Tibet relations get spoiled during Curzon. Curzon was a viceroy during 1905, 1902 to some 1907. Curzon was the viceroy in India. So he thinks that Russia will come to India. Russia will exercise influence over Tibet. So he wanted to counter Russia, fight Russia. So what does he do? He sends a mission. He sends a army, small army headed by Colonel Young Husband. Colonel sends a mission to Tibet. So when this mission goes to Tibet, Dalai Lama, the Lama there, he runs away. So the local ruler signs a treaty. Tibetan officials signs a treaty. The treaty is called Treaty of Lhasa. Your Doklam issue in the Bengal and Bhutan region, Sikkim, Bengal and Bhutan region, Doklam issue. This dates back to this Treaty of Lhasa, 1904. So this treaty, this Chumbi Valley, where is it? So if this is Sikkim and this is your northeast India, here is Bhutan. So this is Nepal. Okay, this is Assam. And this comes like this. India map comes like this. So this is Assam, this is Meghalaya, this is Bangladesh. So your Chumbi Valley is here. Sikkim and Bhutan. Between that, Chumbi Valley is there. Chumbi Valley was given to whom? Indian government for 75 years, and many other provisions were there. Okay. Next, Anglo-Afghan relations. So here comes Anglo-Afghan relations. Okay. So what happens? Anglo-Afghan relations. So the British fear that Russia is going to invade India. Russia is going to invade India either via Afghanistan or via Tibet. So what they do? They try to conquer both the territories. Okay. So because of Russian fear, the Anglo-Afghan war takes place. Okay. So they want to establish a scientific barrier. Scientific barrier means what? Afghanistan, there is lot of mountains. So if this is Iran, this is Afghanistan, Pakistan, India today, right? So if this is Iran, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India. So at that time India was still here, Pakistan within India. So this is Sindh. Sindh was already under control of what? We had annexed Sindh. India had annexed Sindh. That is, British had annexed Sindh. That is, annexation means taking control of Sindh. Okay. So what happened? These mountains were natural barriers, just like Himalayas. Just like Himalaya. Nobody can cross Himalayas and come to India. There were mountains to the left or to the west of Afghanistan, crossing which was very difficult. So they wanted to take control of these mountains. British wanted to conquer Afghanistan and take control of these mountains. However, Afghans opposed this. Okay. So here comes the forward policy of Auckland. Auckland, what does he do? So he is a Governor General. So forward policy means we have control till here. We will forward the control till the mountains, forward and acquire the Afghan region. That was the policy of Auckland. Auckland, A-U-C-K-L-A-N-D. Okay, so that India will be saved from the British attack. So there was a Amir. So Afghan was ruled by Amir. So this Amir name is, so today we have Emirates, Amirs of Saudi, Amirs of UAE. Likewise, Afghan was ruled by an Amir called Dost Muhammad. He just wanted friendship with British. He did not want to give up this control. He just wanted friendship with British. So what happened? So but India did not want friendship. That is, India means British did not want friendship. They wanted to take control of Afghanistan. So what happens? Dost Muhammad feels bad. He goes to Russia. He takes Russia's help. In turn, what British do? They sign the tripartite treaty with Sindh Amirs and Ranjit Singh. So they, under this treaty, what happens? Shah Shuja, that is, Dost Muhammad will be thrown out and a new Amir will be installed in Afghanistan, and his name is Shah Shuja, and Shah Shuja will be under the control of English. So he will be under the control of English. First Anglo-Afghan war. So because of this tripartite treaty between these countries, so what happens? Because of this British forward policy going and capturing Afghanistan, this Anglo-Afghan war takes place. So this Dost Muhammad surrenders and Shah Shuja was made the emperor. However, Shah Shuja was disliked by local Afghani people. Local Afghani people did not like Shah Shuja, who was placed there by whom? By the English. So the British were British were compelled to sign a treaty. So here the Afghan war takes place during the tenure of Shah Shuja and British lose. So this was and British were forced to sign a treaty. After Lord Auckland, we have John Lawrence. John Lawrence policy of masterly inactivity. So what is masterly inactivity? So this master means British. They don't do anything. So they will be just sitting there observing the Afghanistan. Until there is any issue in Afghanistan, we will not go and acquire Afghanistan. So only when there is a dispute or only when there is a war in Afghanistan, that will hamper, that will threaten British in India. However, as long as there is peace in Afghanistan, there is a peace, there is no disturbance, we will not do anything. This was the policy of masterly inactivity given by John Lawrence. Next, Lytton and the policy of proud reserve. What does this Lytton do? So he is similar to Auckland. Auckland forward policy, Lytton proud reserve. Proud reserve means British are people of pride. So they want to have a reserve of as many countries as possible. So he wanted to build a proud reserve of British territories. So here starts the Second Afghan War. Second Afghan War, 1878 to 1880, 2 years. Second Afghan War. So what does this war happens? So here the ruler of Afghanistan will be Sher Ali. Sher Ali. First Afghan War, Dost Muhammad, Shah Shuja. Second Afghan War, Sher Ali. So this Sher Ali, this British wanted to sign a treaty with them. However, Sher Ali refuses to sign a treaty. So he was close to Russia. So because of this reason, this Lytton was a very similar to Curzon and Dalhousie. He was imperialist. So he invades Afghanistan, and they sign a treaty of Gandamak. Treaty of Gandamak was signed 1879. So here the Amir of Afghanistan, here the British were quite successful. The Amir was to conduct the foreign policy with the advice of Government of India. So foreign policy had to be conducted with advice of Government India. British British representative had to be placed in Afghanistan. So this was the policy. Next, British India and the Northwest Frontier. Northwest Frontier means what? Northwest Frontier. So all your territories of Pakistan and Afghanistan, sorry, not Afghanistan, your territory of Sindh, Punjab, so Western Punjab, and Baluchistan. So these regions which are today under the control of Pakistan form the what? They form the Northwest Frontier Province. Northwest Frontier Province. Okay. So British India and Northwest Frontier. So British always wanted to have a scientific barrier. They were very insecure. They were eyeing they were focusing on the mountains of Afghanistan. So all your Afghan British war, Anglo-Afghan wars are because of these regions. So later when actually the capturing of Afghan doesn't take place, they draw a line between Afghanistan and Pakistan. So that day it was Afghanistan and India. This line is called Durand line. It will be asked in your current affair, in your history question. Durand line between Afghanistan and Pakistan today. Durand line drawn in 1893. Okay, Durand Line was drawn in 1893. Okay, so later on Curzon followed a policy of withdrawal and concentration. He said, no, we are not going to focus on Afghanistan, we will withdraw and focus our power on India only. So what he did, he withdrew the troops. He withdrew the troops from Afghanistan and brought them back to India. Rather than that, he encouraged the tribal people. So these tribal people, these Pakistani and Afghanistani mountains, tribals are there. These tribals were trained as soldiers. They themselves will guard the border. So they were trained as the soldiers. So this was the policy of British. Next, we are going to, half an hour is there, we are going to briefly discuss people's resistance against the British before 1857. Okay, before 1857. So 1857, why the year is important? Because 1857 revolt takes place. Revolt of 1857, Sepoy Mutiny, first war of India's independence. That is when India first time collectively opposed the British. So was there any resistance even before 1857, or was the 1857 revolt the first collective effort or collective fight against the British? Actually, there were many fights against the British even before 1857. So what is the meaning of people's resistance? People's resistance means, so a people means they include many sections: peasants, artisans, tribals, ruling classes, military personnel, religious leaders, and many other people. So all these people, they were dissatisfied with one or the other policy of British. So either they may be dissatisfied with the taxes, they may be dissatisfied with the excessive imports, or they may be dissatisfied with low prices paid for their goods, or they might be dissatisfied with conversion, religious conversion encouraged by the British, and so many other things. Also the taxes imposed by British. So they might be dissatisfied. Because of this dissatisfaction, people fight the British. Okay. So I already told the reasons: causative factors, revenue demand, corrupt practices, high attitude, racial discrimination. Indians were treated as low class people. That is also reason for the people's resistance. Okay. So causative factors, briefly I am going to discuss land revenue and also revenue collectors. That is, money lenders came, money lenders who, so they were protected by British money lenders. So if the farmer is there, so now banks are there to give money to farmers. Earlier time, no banks. He used to pledge his land or his cows or any other thing or the produce of the farm and take money at very high interest and fall in the debt trap. So they were the money lenders. And also tribal administration over tribal lands. So the British tribals were independent people. So they were not ruled by anyone, not even the kings. So this British tried to administer the tribal people. They also fight. Okay. So what are the types of resistance? First is civil uprisings. Civil means what? There are many types of uprising: civil uprising, tribal uprising, and military uprising. Civil means resistance by common people like me and you, or the military, or the zamindars, or the religious priests. So if they resist the British, then it is called the civil uprisings. What are the causes of civil uprisings? So British, after British came, they changed the administration and economy. So the prices were, there was heavy taxation imposed, land revenue was high, administration was favorable for the upper classes. That is the reason. And also another cause is zamindars had enmity with the British. Initially, zamindars had enmity with the British. That was also a reason. And also Indian handicrafts were ruined. That is also a reason. And the priests. So below, because of religious conversion, priests were angry. Priests, pujaris were angry against the British. So general characteristics of uprising. What are the general characteristics? So the characteristics were semi-feudal and backward looking, traditional. So semi-feudal means, feudalism means what? Feudalism means those who own the land actually exercises political and economic and military power. Zamindars, suppose you own 100 acres of land. So those who own land, the political control will also be with that person. So owning of land will bring you political control as well. This is called feudalism, land and land-based rights. So if you own land, you will get all kinds of authority. That is meant by feudalism. So these risings were semi-feudal. Semi-feudal means they were having feudal characteristics. That is the participation of zamindars. Zamindars are feudal because feudal means landowning classes. Zamindars owning land, they used to exercise political power. So these were the characteristics. Next, important civil revolts. What are the important civil revolts? First, we have Sannyasi revolt. So this was between 1770 and 1800. 1770 and 1800. Okay. So why the Sannyasi revolt? In 1770, there will be a famine, Baragala, in eastern India. In eastern India, Bengal region, there will be famine, Baragala, and the peasants were evicted. Because of famine, they were not able to pay taxes and they were removed from the land. So what happens? These sannyasis, that is these people, that is the people in those regions called sannyasis, they are a kind of a ethnic people, tribal people. They were a kind of ethnic people. They attack the company. They attack the company forces. They attack the company factories. They attack the factories. And who were the leaders? Majnu Shah. Majnu Shah is the most important leader of Sannyasi revolt. Okay. So this was fought. This was fought by Varanasi. Only after many years of fighting, sannyasis were put down. They were defeated. Okay. So with respect to sannyasi revolt, your Bankim Chandra Chatterjee has written a book. It is called Anand Mat. Okay. Next, we have revolt of Mommorias. So here there is revolt of Midnapur as well. Midnapur. So Midnapur also, this zamindars revolt against the British. So not very important. Next, we have revolt of Mommorias. Mommorias are in the people in the Assam region. People in the Assam region called Mommorias. So MOA, I have written the spelling there. MOAMARIAS. Okay. So they were peasants. Peasants means workers in the land. So they were agricultural workers. So what happened? So okay. So they were assisting the these Mommorias were assisting the local rulers. Local rulers, Ahoms. Ahom kings were there. So Assam was ruled by one kingdom called Ahoms. Ahoms. Okay. So they rise in revolt against the British because first the Assam Ahom ruler first fights the British, because Assam was occupied by British. The home ruler fights the British. In turn, the Maurya's fight the British. So this is the Maurya revolt. So you have to just know the names and brief about the revolt. You need not know in detail. They won't ask what is Maurya revolt. They will ask what are the types of resistance. Under this, you have to just name them. Okay. Next, Gorakhpur and Barhej. Gorakhpur and Barhej also there will be revolt. So here the issue is Izaradars. Izaradars, revenue farmers. Izaradars means what? So British is there. Under British, they appoint one person. He will collect the land revenue, taxes from the agriculture. So this person, intermediary or middleman between the peasants, agricultural peasants and the British, is called Izaradar. So these Izaradars were collecting lot of revenue. So they were collecting excessive revenue. So because of which people in Gorakhpur fought. This is the civil uprising in Gorakhpur. Next, Vizianagaram. So Raja of Vizianagaram. So this, where is this Vizianagaram? This northern Sircars in the Odisha region. Northern Sircars comes under the Odisha region. Okay. So what is the issue with respect to Raja of Vizianagaram? So this British occupy his land, occupy the Raja of Vizianagaram land and ask him to give away his troops. That is your soldiers, you just give away and live on our pension and give your land to us. So this angered the Raja and they fight. They fight the British. So this is the Raja of Vizianagaram issue. Next, Dondia Vaga of Bednur. So this happens in Karnataka. So what happens? This Dondia Vaga, so he will, what happens? He fights the British. He fights the British because he wanted to help the Marathas. He fights the British. That is the fighting of Dondia of Bednur. It happens in 1800. If you just know this much, more than enough. Not required in detail. So this Dondia Vaga or Dondia of Bednur, he fights the British and in order to secure the Marathi kingdom. Next, resistance of Kerala Varma, Palazzi Raja. So what happens? So these are all civil uprisings. Civil uprisings means rising by common people. Common people resistance to what? Common people resistance to British. So in the Kerala region, after this third Anglo-Mysore War, I already said third Anglo-Mysore War, because Cochin, happens because of control of Travancore versus Tipu Sultan. So this is the third Anglo War. So after this war, what happens? This English appoints. So Tipu Sultan gets defeated. English appoints some person. English appoints some person to rule the region. What does he do? He takes lot of revenue. The English appoint this one person called Veeravarma. So this Veeravarma collects lot of land revenue from the British. So from the farmers. So this was opposed by a local leader, people's leader called Palazzi Raja. So his name, Palazzi Raja, he is called the Kerala Varma. He fights the Veeravarma. In turn, he fights the British. This is the issue of Kerala Varma, Palazzi Raja, because of land revenue. Next, civil uprising, Awadh. Awadh also civil uprising happens. Here what happens? So here also the issue is this Wazir Ali Khan. Wazir Ali Khan is the fourth Nawab of Awadh. So I already told Awadh was under the control of subsidiary alliance. And later on, when Awadh was conquered, under maladministration. I already told Awadh was taken over by British. And the Wazir Ali Khan,
that is the fourth Nawab, he was given some pension. He was given some pension. So, however, this Wazir Ali Khan was not happy with the pension. So, he did not want the pension. He wanted his kingdom back. He fights the British. So, this is called the civil. So, he gathers people and fight the British. This is the issue of civil rebellion in Awadh. Next, Polygar's revolt. This next, also here you have Ganjam and Gumsur. Even in the Odisha region, Ganjam and Gumsur is there. You need not remember everything. You just remember some 5 to 6 revolts. However, I am doing in detail just civil or civil uprisings. Just remember 4 or 5 important revolts, more than sufficient. Okay. So in Ganjam and Gumsur in Odisha region, in Ganjam and Gumsur, there what happens? A zamindar will be there. So this zamindar land was taken over by the British. So his land was taken over by British, and they appoint some other zamindar. So he gathers people and fights the British. This is the issue of Ganjam and Gumsur. Next, Polygar's revolt, very very important. 1795 to 1805. So what is this? This happens in the Tamil Nadu region. So these Polygars were what? They were militia, that is, they were fighters, they were soldiers, just like Pindaris. They used to fight for the kingdoms. However, after the loss of the southern Indian kingdoms, and after the loss of Tipu Sultan, they were jobless. So actually they were ruling over the local land in Tamil Nadu, Polygars. So this local land, so they were serving whom? They were serving Nawab of Arcot. Yesterday we discussed the issue. So Nawab of Arcot. So they were having control over the local land. So after the Nawab of Arcot was defeated, the British wanted to take over the land ruled by the Polygars. So they fight back. So who was the leader? Kattabomman Nayak was the leader. Okay. So this land is called Palayam land. So the land ruled by Polygars are called Palayam land. Next, this revolt takes place in 2 phases. First phase, Kattabomman Nayak. Second phase, one more leader, I will tell you. Okay. So here also, so in the second phase, what used to happen? First issue is the Palayam land. Second is they were also acting as security personnel. So earlier times, every village had a village security. So Tanedar or Talwara. So Talwars. So this security, for this security they were taking some fees. However, this fees was abolished. This fees was abolished by the British. Kaval fees. So it is called Kaval fees. Every village had a Kavalgar. So this Kaval fees was abolished by the British. So and the police functions were given to the normal police. So the policing function of the Polygars were taken over. So because of which they fight the British. So this forms the second phase. Next, Diwan Velutampi revolt. So Haryana region also there is a uprising, not very important. Next, Diwan Velutampi revolt. So this also happens in Kerala. What is this? Diwan Velutampi revolt. Okay. So what happens? This Travancore signs subsidiary alliance after Third Anglo-Mysore War. Travancore signs subsidiary alliance. So here one Diwan will be there. Diwan of the Travancore kingdom is unhappy. He is unhappy with signing subsidiary alliance. He gathers people. He gathers the soldiers and civilians and he fights the British. So this is the Diwan Velutampi revolt. Bundelkhand also there will be some revolt. Okay, Bundelkhand, what is the reason? So Bundelkhand, actually in that region, Kiladars will be there. Kiladars means people who were owning forts. Fort. They were owning many forts and they were residing in the forts. However, these Kiladars were divested of the forts. That is, the forts of the Kiladars. That is, these forts were taken over by the British. These forts were kote. So these kotegalanna the British take over, because of which the Kiladars fight the British. So you need not remember everything I am saying every time. So you just have to remember the main revolts. Next, okay. So I'll discuss these five in brief. You just have to remember the few names, not every name, just few names. So there is also a Parkal Medi revolt. Again, this happens in Ganjam district, Odisha. Not very important. Next, Kutch rebellion. Kutch rebellion also happens in Gujarat. So under Raja Baramal. So they also have some issues with the British. So the British, what they do, they remove the local ruler. Raja Baramal was removed out of power, because of which he gathers troops. He gathers the civilians and fights the British. Next, rising in Bareilly. Bareilly also there is one fight. So here what happens, the issue of police tax. So for policing, for providing police functions, the citizens were put a tax called police tax. Okay. So this was opposed by a religious leader called Mufti Muhammad Aiwaz. Mufti Muhammad Aiwaz, name is not very important. So here what happens, the people oppose this police tax and they fight the British. This is the rising in Bareilly. Next, Paika rebellion. So Hathras also there is one issue, Hathras in Aligarh, Uttar Pradesh. There also some issue takes place, not very important. Paika rebellion. Paika, this is important. Paikas, they were tribal militia. Sorry, traditional landed militia. Traditional landed militia means just like polygars. That is, they are soldiers. They offer their service to the king. So in turn, king would have awarded him some land. So they were landed militia. That is, land owning soldiers. Land owning soldiers. So what happens? So after the Raja whom the Paikas were serving, he was defeated by the British. So and what happens? This land which was owned by Paikas, it was heavily taxed by British, because of which these Paikas also the British imposed salt taxes on the salts and silver, many other commodities. They impose tax. Main issue is land tax, because of which these Paikas fight the British. They fight the British. Okay. This is about the Paika rebellion, takes place in 1817. 1817. Okay. So it is called, so the leader is Bakshi Jagbandhu Vidyadhar. Name is important. Paika rebellion is important. Bakshi Jagbandhu Vidyadhar. Bakshi B-A-K-S-H-I. Bakshi Jagabandhu Vidyadhar. Okay. This is called Paika Bidroh. Paika rebellion. Okay. Next, Wagera rising is there, not very important. Ahom rising. Okay. So what is Ahom rising? Ahom, where are they? Ahoms are kings in Assam. So the British tried to take over the Ahom territories, that is territory of Assam, because of which Ahoms fight the British. So this is the Ahom revolt. It takes place in 1828. There, and one more issue, Surat salt agitation. Surat salt agitation. What happens? British impose 50 paisa salt tax on salt, because of which Surat salt agitation takes place. So they have Kolhapur also some revolts takes place. Okay. Next, the important is Wahhabi rebellion. So these two will do and wind up the class today. So Wahhabi rebellion. Wahhabi rebellion, it is a Islamic revivalist movement. Islamic revivalist movement. What do you mean by revivalist? To revive Islam. To revive Islam, that is old Islam, that is Islam during the times of Prophet Muhammad. During the times of Prophet Muhammad, what was the Islam is there? That was the pure Islam. We want to bring back that pure Islam now, which is corrupted. So this is the Islamic revivalist movement. So who are the important leaders? Sayyid Ahmad of Rai Bareli and Shah Waliullah. So Sayyid Ahmad of Rai Bareli is important. Sayyid Ahmad of Rai Bareli, he was inspired by two people, Shah Waliullah and Abdul Wahab. Abdul Wahab. Wahhabi movement is very, very important. So, and even the names are important. Sayyid Ahmad of Shah Rai Bareli and Shah Waliullah of Delhi. Okay. So what they do? So they actually declare jihad against the English. Because of English, their Islam is getting corrupted. So they declare jihad against the English. So they started killing the British soldiers. So British oppress them and defeat them. Last, Kuka rebellion, Kuka movement. So this happens in Western Punjab. In Western Punjab, that is today's Pakistan, Kuka rebellion, Kuka movement takes place. Who is the leader? Leader is Baba Ram Singh. Baba Ram Singh is the leader. Okay. So what is this Kuka rebellion? So actually this Kuka movement, Baba Ram Singh was encouraging people to give up meat, alcohol and drugs. So and encouraging widow remarriage. So what was he doing? He was bringing in social reforms. Give up eating meat, give up consuming alcohol, give up encouraging widow remarriage, and many social reforms he was bringing over. However, so this was a movement. So they opposed the British. So this was initially this was the goals. However, after Punjab was taken over by British, when were they taken over? After Anglo-Punjab War II. After the second Anglo-Punjab War, the British took over the Punjab territory. Then this movement, socio-religious movement, transforms into the political movement. So tomorrow we will start with peasant movements with religious overtones. This is all for today. Thank you for your patience. Hope you found the class useful. If you have any doubts, please contact us through the VHS Karnataka Telegram channel. VHS Karnataka Telegram channel. I will try to address all your doubts as far as possible. Okay, don't keep your doubts to yourself, and you need to ask your doubts in order to get clarity. And the source from which I am all teaching all this is Spectrum. This is your sole source for your modern India. Hope you found the class useful. Please take care of your health. Jai Hind. Namaste.